Hello everyone. So the computer stand. Try to get all this going. And I'm going to do a bigger project tonight. I'm going to do it on just a canvas because ideally this is probably going to be like something that hangs up like in a garage or even a man cave or even a boy's room or something like that. I can imagine my nephews might like something like this. So I'm going to do something that's not so much as like a girly frame like. So I got this frame that, you know, probably something like this you wouldn't really hang up in a garage or a basement or, you know, but something that's just like a canvas or painted or something you would more likely to. And because the transfer is fishing rules. So it's got fishing rules. Bait your own hook. Clean your own fish. Tell your own lies. Basic fishing 101, pretty much, right? Oh. So I was trying to figure out some colors. I'm going to go like some darker greens. Not like fishy colors. I've got eucalyptus, which is kind of a fishy green, I guess. Like some storm. We've got like the hooks and the fly. If anybody has like a color preference, feel free to shout it out. I'm just grabbing some colors that I guess are, you know, more fitting for that. I don't want it to be too girly, although I could make one that's super girly because there are tons of girls who fish. I'd rather just eat the fish. I don't want to have to go through the work myself. Same thing with deer. Love venison, but don't want to be the one to actually hunt down Bandy. Okay. We've got all these colors that I'm getting out here. Oh, pastel's a little more fishy green than that one, I guess. Alright, so I got some colors going here. Maybe some blue. Yellow's a little light. That gives me something to start with. You know, I don't like to stick to just one color. I like to use multiple colors. So, I'll probably do the rules in a little bit funny or plain color. But then maybe I'll do like the tell your own lies in a bright color because it is the rule. And you always know when they catch the big fish, that's always the one that they throw back. Yeah, that's the one they throw back. But even with cell phones now, you should at least have some photographic evidence that you caught it. But that's not a concern when you're out in the boat. Alright, so I guess cell phones have really inhibited people from being able to say that. Right, so this is a C-size transfer. So it's one of the bigger ones. If you're going to try to do transfers and make stuff yourself, don't start with a C, start with the A size, which is just a basic 5x7 and work your way up. Although some of the C sizes are not a full page like this one. Some are actually, like if you look at, where's the one I just had? So a lot of times they're cut apart ones. So this is a C size, but it's got 4 different transfers in it that you can do 4 different projects with, and it still don't have to have a surface this big to cover it. And even with the fishing one, I could do a smaller surface. I measured it out in a couple. I could do just the rules, and I could always put the fishes behind them and do like a layer effect, which I'm sure I am going to get to eventually. I just haven't yet. So I'm going to start by just opening my canvas. You can get a stack of canvases for like 10-20 bucks at Michael's or Hobby Lobby, especially when they're on sale. So I just grabbed some because I just like to do lots of projects, and it's a cheap, easy way for me to like keep making projects. But I do have the nicer boards as well. It was just a preference. Okay, so again, it's a stretch canvas, so I am careful when I push down on it. I don't put too much pressure on it. But it's pretty thin, so I don't really need to put anything under it. You can always put a book or something under there. I'm just going to be careful with it. It is canvas, so I'm not going to fuzz it up. Usually, because this canvas isn't really a super smooth surface, it's a little rough. Whereas the chalkboard is nice and smooth, so you want to make sure that, you know, you fuzz it up. You don't want this too sticky. And I'll show you a good way to check to see if it's too sticky or if you need to fuzz it a little bit. But the first thing I'm going to do, though, is wax my canvas. Because it's rough, you get like lots of little divots and stuff. You don't even realize it that are in the canvas. That stretches out to make it. So that's You want to make sure you fill that in, and so it makes it as seamless, smooth as possible when you put the transfer on. That way you don't get any bleeding or, you know, anything that looks like it's not a good, nice, perfect line on something. But a lot of times if you paint the background, that helps smooth it out too. This is actually something that's new that I haven't tried before. It's a little mini fuzz cloth, but it's meant for the wax. Garbage pail. So I'm sorry you can't see my head really. I wanted you to really be able to see the project. Let me slide this back just a little bit more so you can really get a good view of it. And sorry you can't see my face. It's a big project, so I want to make sure you could actually see it. That's why I changed the camera angle. So you can probably see this a bit better that way. Move my soda out your way. Yes, I always have a soda. So this is just wax. You can get like minnow wax or something at the store. Doesn't have to be your wax, although it's just more cost effective. You don't use a lot of it. I just put it on. I don't put it on perfectly. It's not like you're trying to wax the kitchen floor where you're like being careful and making sure you hit all different ones. I'm just putting it on sparingly and smoothing it around. And I try to go in both directions, so I'll go one way and then I'll go back over things. I don't know if you can see it, but I can kind of see a little reflection from where I put the wax on. And then once I go in one direction, I'll slide the board around and move the wax in the other direction to kind of fill in any little holes. It's not perfect. I did try to be perfect at first. Like, no, it's no. The smaller the canvas is, probably the more you can. But, and then what some people do actually is they'll take like the little dryer and heat up the wax because it makes it easier to spread. When I get the other wax, I just do the minnow wax, which is the soft wax. So it's pretty much usually easy to spread anyways. So if I feel like this, I can feel the wax on there. It's just going to help me. I'm still going to be careful when I do stuff. This one, I don't have to worry about any hangers in the back because I can add them afterwards. Some of them already have built-in hangers. So not to make my mistake, but just make sure that, you know, if it does have a hanger already built in, that you do it at the right size, the right way. Oftentimes I've done lots of things where the hanger ended up being on the bottom of the picture when I stood it up. And I was like, oops, it's easy on the chalkboards because you just erase it and do it over again. But something like this on chalk, it's not going to be as easy to take the chalk up off of a canvas. It's more of a permanent solution. Same thing, I'm just like peeling the edge, just like with a sticker. With the bigger ones, I'm just trying to be careful because it can fold over on itself. If it folds over on itself, it's going to stick to itself, just like a sticker would. You want to use, you might have to put a little water on it to help loosen it up. I've had ones before where they've ended up in a ball when I first started out, which is one of the reasons that we don't recommend that you start with the big, huge size. So I think this is probably going to look a little plain after the fact, but I'll end up putting some kind of border or something on it. Or maybe I'll take like some old fishing lures and hang them around on it. Okay. Oh. Embellish it afterwards. I'm just trying to smooth it out. I'm actually going to put my hand on the bottom to give it a little more something got pressure against. I'll cut down on the air bubbles because I can see bubbles in there. So I am going to have to find something to go underneath that. What can I put underneath it that's going to really help? Maybe. Let's see if this box is too high or not. And I did not fuzz this transfer, but I'm just going to have to be really careful with it. Darn. So hopefully it comes out good. I'm just like when I'm going to do it in sections and just be really careful. Because I'm using paste and not ink, and it's a big, huge project. I'm going to do part of it, pull it up, let it dry, and then do the next part. So I'm probably going to break it like into 3 sections as I do it, just to help myself. But let's pick some good colors. So we got green, and then got some greens and some blues and some grays and some tide. Right. So maybe I'll start with the fishies. Anybody have any This canvas is, so the stencil is 12 by 18. So this is good. Yeah, stencil's 12 by 18. So this is probably like a 13 by 18 frame in there. So it's just a little over the edge. It's not Coca-Cola today, it's Dr. Pepper. Once in a while, I changed up Dr. Pepper. I had never tried Dr. Pepper before this past year. And my nephews and cousins like it, so I always get like the little cans and there were ones left over. So I figured I'd try it because I ran out of Pepsi. It was so much better than I thought it was. I thought it was going to taste like root beer. I don't know why I had that stuck in my head, but it did. All right. So I'm going to start with pesto because that looks like a nice fishy green. And then for my squeegees, I don't know if I have my bigger squeegee here. I don't. Alright, so for my squeegees, I'm going to stick with the mini, even though I should use one that's bigger. I do have this one I haven't used yet. Here, I'll try this one. This is the angled squeegee. I'll show it to you. I have not used it before. I got one just to try it. It has all these different angles on it, depending on, you know, the size of your project you want to use. But it is super thick. It probably could have been like half as thick as this, and it still would have been as good. Whereas the mini, which is what I use pretty much all the time, you can see how just huge it is. I feel like it's art class. But this will make it really easy for me to like get that fish real quick. The bigger the squeegee, the less time it's going to take you. Hi, Melissa. Hopefully you're only watching my video because you've gotten your homework done. You're just a week off from graduation, so then after that, you can do anything you want. All right, so I'm just going to scoop out green and get it on and make a nice green, icky green fish. And then the fly, yeah, I'll make the fly green too. I'll just do a whole bunch of green on here. Now that I've got that on there, I'll take my big squeegee and I think I'm going to need some more here. Any excess that I have, I can just put it back in the jar, so. All right, my first time with the angled squeegee. Let's see. Just gonna spread it this way. Come on, fishy. And compared to how I do the other things, you see how quickly it's like spreading it. The thing's already done there, and here. There's even a bigger handled one that I have not used it though. So obviously this is going to be a great one for, had I used this on the t-shirt last night, it would have gone really fast. So I'm just going to scrape the end off my squeegee of how much I used. And then because this is the top part, and hopefully I didn't move my transfer around too much, I'm going to pull it up so you can see the fishy. So you can kind of see them. And honestly, I could water down some paste and like fill in the little white areas to make it a little bit more. I did have one little area there that I must have moved the transfer a little bit. That's okay, I can see it on the back there. So I'll lift that up, and then I'm going to pop this right back down. And I'm not too concerned about my fingers because it's not ink. The chalk paste can wipe up, but I think it looks even better on camera than it does in front of me. Awesome. All right, I think I'm going to stick with the green for the... Or should I change the fishing rules? Green, and I've got my Tide, and I got my Storm, which is like a gray, and I've got my blue. Maybe I'll just stick with like plain colors. We'll see how that looks. I can always liven it a little bit more afterwards. So again, because I'm going to use the big squeegee, I'm going to spoon it onto my transfer. But I am going to take a wipe and wipe off the green just so I don't get things mixing together. Ooh, this probably would have been a good one to do a camouflage effect on too. Darn it. I'll have to try that another time. Especially if I do the green and the orange, it comes out with a cool camouflage by creating brown with the areas where they touch. Found that by accident one day. It looked so great, especially since I couldn't find my brown. Okay, so we've got this. Make sure it's all dried off. And now we'll do my fishing rules. All right, so the stir stick that, you know, I give you for free basically, so that you can have it to get started. But I just swirl it around, and I'm only using it so I can plop it on here to help me squeegee it. That way I'm not sticking the squeegee in the jar and trying to get it that way. Okay, so I'm going to start here and push my way down. And I can always add more afterwards if needed. So I'm going to go like this. Just keep spreading it across. Spreading it across. I was able to get the entire rolls in one swipe. I'm just taking the excess gray and moving it up here on the fishing part. Oh, this angled squeegee is awesome. Melissa, if you don't have one, you need to get one. Holy cow. How quickly did I do that? Now I just got to do the 3 rolls at the bottom. Normally I would do each row on its own. Not with the angled squeegee. Why did I not get this sooner? Why are people not bragging about this thing? Okay, so I did the second half without even taking a break. Because normally I would break it because I would need to let it dry. Okay, so I'm going to pull this the rest of the way up. And you can see the fishing has little white dots in it. I'll hold it up so you can see it a little bit closer. But the reason it has that is because it wants to give it that rustic kind of look. So it's actually like that way on the transfer, so that it comes out this way. But check it out. And I could have mixed green in with the gray. I can always put the transfer back down and do it a little bit more. Hopefully I'm not holding this up too high that you can't see it. So yeah, you can see it pretty clear. I need to figure out some kind of excess on the border. I think this would look great on a t-shirt as well. I also have canvases that I'm going to do it on. And I'm not sure exactly what events I'm going to be going to sell the stuff that I do make. Because I also got a stained glass kit, so I can make some stained glass to go with stuff. I think, you know, I'll ask my nephews for some design ideas on how to dress this up with, like, I don't know, maybe some bobbers or some flies. Fishing line, something to give it a little something extra. I'm sure they have tons of stuff because they have more fishing supplies than you could need in a lifetime. And that's just one of them. All right, I love how my fish turned out. I'm going to hold it upside down so you can get a really good view of the fish. So I love how that fish turned out. So detailed. I'm going to be able to use just the fish on some things. Oh, except for that one little part at the top, which I'm going to erase right now. I'm going to put the gray back in the jar. So all I really dirtied other than my transfer is this one squeegee and the stir sticks. I'm going to take them out. I'm not worried about setting them on my table because it's chalk and chalk just wipes right up. I'll seal up my paste. And the first thing I'm going to do is remove this one little blob that I made a little mistake on. I accidentally must have moved my transfer as I was putting it on. Now you can put a Q-tip with a little bit of water on it if you get some small little detailed area. I'm just going back and forth to remove it. Worst case scenario, I take a little white chalk and put it on top of it. I've got my finger underneath to give a little pressure. And I'll get really close to it, but then I'll wait for it to dry before I get the like super up close to it. I don't want to ruin that nice line of the fish. So I got most of it off there. And I might as well clean my stir sticks and squeegee while I got it out. Does anybody have any questions? Hopefully I can see all your comments. Sometimes it's just that I don't see the comments until the live ends for whatever reason. When I'm going back and looking through them, I had comments. I don't know if it's because, if it's for people that haven't liked the business page, so their comments aren't appearing as I'm live on the business page for some reason. I think that's what it is. So if I see a comment from you, you might get an invite to the business page just so that in the future I can actually see them and talk to you when I'm live. And I'm going to try to go live different times. All right, all nice and clean. I can't believe how easy this thing was. All right, I'm telling everybody to get the angled squeegee. Wow, it is awesome. All right. So this is just a cute sign. If anything, it'll look great in my dad's garage. Sitting next to his fishing stuff that he no longer uses. But he has, just in case he wants to go fishing. The last thing I'm going to do is clean the transfer. I'm going to do it right here on the table. It's a bigger size transfer, so sometimes it's easier to do it in the sink. The next size bigger is definitely easier. But I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to put this over here for now. And I'm going to pull my transfer back out. But I'm also grabbing my towel. So since it's bigger, I'm going to use a bit bigger towel. And as you can see, it's dirty because I cleaned lots of transfers on it. And ink will stain your stuff. That's why I just use, everybody has an old towel, or if you need an excuse to buy a new towel, I'll use that excuse to buy a new one. So, got my transfer, which is super sticky, and I just stuck it on itself. So you want to be careful and pull it apart really slowly. If it does not want to go, don't force it, spray it with some water. And then give it a minute, and then try to pull it apart. That has always worked for me. Oops, can't quite reach across the table. Okay, so I'm going to slide this up a little bit, so maybe you might see me. Not quite sure. Ooh. Bet you up all over so you can see me better. Okay. So, got it in 3 sections. And I'm just going to get water on it. The water is just going to loosen up the paste. The green stuff has already started to dry on the transfer. So I'm going to give it a little extra water, let it sit there. And remember, there was none on the back side of it, but as I clean it, I'm pushing it through the back side. I mean, you really only need to be worried about how to clean a transfer if you decide you want to buy transfers. And I do actually make my own transfers. So if you're someone like my nephew Mason, who spells his name M-A-I-S-O-N instead of the way that most people spell it, he's one of those kids that can never find his name when you go in a store. So him getting something made with his own name on it is awesome, especially since he has his own YouTube channel. So I made him his own YouTube stencils. And he's even looking at trying to, well, we're creating an the goal is to create an Etsy shop where not only do I sell my stuff, but he also wants to sell stuff for his YouTube channel there. So basically merch. We'll do like a combined thing, even though he's in North Carolina and I'm in New York. So I'm just trying to get the bulk of the chalk paste off. As you can see, it's pushing some through. It's getting my eraser dirty. I use it until there's not much left to it, and then I toss it and use another one. So now that I've got the bulk of it, I like to take a Clorox wipe and go over it. Pick up anything that's left on there, especially since my eraser's getting towards the end of its life. And it doesn't matter if my transfer ends up stained. What matters is that the area with the stencil silk screen area that you can see through, what matters is that is clear, because that's what the chalk paste and ink goes through. Doesn't matter how the rest of the transfer looks. It could turn black. Doesn't matter. But as you can see, even after I cleaned it, it's still pulling stuff up. And of course, you can see from the excess stuff that was on the transfer, I pushed it through to the towel. And now I'm just going to clean especially the areas that I pushed it through. So if anybody has any questions while I'm doing this, let me know. Oh, I'm out of water in that. I can show you how easy it is to fill it. Oh, I always fill it with distilled water. They don't have to worry about what's in it. Bottled water works just as well. Tap water is also fine. You just don't ever want to spray tap water into any of your jars if they ever start to get a little dry or something. Because tap water in there, because it's distilled water, you're not going to develop mold on things. But tap water, you never know what's in that, and it has in the past developed molds. Get the thing going again, and I am seriously considering buying more of these fine mist sprayers to put like cleaning food in. Damn, it's good. All right, I'm gonna grab one more. Clean it out. Making sure I wipe over the areas. And when I get done, I'm gonna hold it up to the light so I can make sure that I got, like, especially like with the lures, that I got all the little nooks and crannies and the little points at the end clear. As long as I got them clear, I'm comfortable with letting it dry and putting it right back on the backer. Green is a color that can want to stain and stick in things. So let's see. So I can see right down here the little feathers, the very tip of the feathers and of the tail of the lure is still got some green in it. So I'm going to give it a little extra water. Especially around the hook part. So I can go through it again. Everything else appeared to be nice and clear, even around the fish's mouth and stuff, because it's really detailed lines. Hopefully you can see that on your end. I can hold it up to show you too. Making sure this all gets clean. Oh, there's still got a little bit at the very end of the feathers. So I'm going to hold this up so you can see the detail, which hopefully you can see in the fish, but just in case. So see how the feathers and the hook, how super detailed it is? And I'll put my fingers next to it for comparison. So like that's the kind of detail that you can get on something. And to believe, pretty sure I got all the green out of there. So it looks good. Looks like I do have a little bit stuck in the fish gill area, so I'm going to go over that again. This, normally I don't need to go over it so much, but this has got, the fish have tons of detail in them. So I'm just making sure that I get them nice and clean, so the next time I use it, I won't have to worry about, you know, having paste already stuck in there. I'll just do it on this side again. Then hopefully you saw the detail on all the fish gills. I'll hold up the sign one last time before I sign off so you can really see the detail on how it comes out. And my green is clear. Yay! Alright. Yes, I was going to hold the fish up so you can kind of see how detailed it is again, in case you didn't see it before. Hopefully you can see that. And I'm going to sign off for the night. Got my little fishing signed up. And I will be back on tomorrow night. Not quite sure what I'm going to do tomorrow. I may do a bigger project, or I may do some of the smaller ones, like the sea size I showed you that breaks down into 4 smaller ones. Because you can usually do back-to-back on those surfaces. So you can change up your seine each day. Alright? Bye guys. Have fun.